What's up guys, it's Josh from KeepItTechie, and today I wanted to do a quick video showing you guys how to set up Apache virtual host in Ubuntu 20.04. Okay, so Apache web server is like one of the most popular methods of serving websites to the internet. And Apache is part of the LAMP stack, which is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. That's typically the stack that people set up when they're creating a web server. Well, Apache is the program that actually serves the websites. And today I want to show you guys how to actually set up virtual hosts. Now, if you don't know what virtual hosts mean, it's a way to serve multiple websites from one physical server, and Apache can handle this by setting up virtual hosts. So just to give you an example, let's say you got KeepItTechie.com and Linux.com. You can serve both of those websites from one server using virtual hosts. So that's what I want to show you guys how to set up today. And it's a very simple process, so let's get started. Okay, so I have a fresh Ubuntu 20.04 server running in virtual, and I'm connected to it via SSH. And I want to go down and walk you guys through how to actually do it. First thing you need to do is actually install Apache on the system if you don't have it there. So I'm gonna run that command right fast so you guys can just see that process. So let's press enter. First thing you need to do is update the system though. So you update your system, it'll refresh the repositories, and also check to see if you have any updates on the system. And as you can see, this system is fresh. It doesn't have any updates. I updated it when I installed it a little bit earlier. So the next thing we need to do is install Apache, and the command to do that is sudo apt install Apache 2. And that's the actual package name. Just so you know, it's not Apache, it's Apache 2. So let's press enter on that, and this will go through and do the installation of Apache. And also you might want to include this with MySQL as well as PHP if you plan on developing a front-end, back-end type website. But if you're only creating something in HTML or the new Markdown language, then you don't need to install that. You could just have the web server up and running, and that way it can serve the websites. And it's almost finished. Okay, cool. So Apache is installed on the system, and we can check it by running sudo systemctl status Apache and press enter. And I apologize, Apache 2, and press enter. As you can see, it's active and running, so our server is up and running. And also another way of testing is actually going to the IP address. There is a Apache default page that's created on the server under var www HTML folder on the server. So let's press Q to just bring it back to the terminal. Actually, let's clear. That way we don't need to see that. And the first step is actually creating the directory structure. And what I mean by directory structure is the location where the website files will be stored. And just to show you the location for that, and actually let's just create the folder so you can see the location. But the location is sudo, let's see, sudo, and I'm gonna actually make the directories. So make directory, and I'm gonna do -p. That way it'll create any of the folders that I don't have there, but var www, and I have 2 of my personal domains that I'm gonna use for this. And the first one is actually music.keepitechie.com, and you can name these folders whatever you want to. I'm gonna name mine just music, but most people will name it the actual domain. So if this was like I'm using a subdomain, so music.keepitechie.com. Most people will set up their website folders like this, which is good practice. That way you'll know specifically the folder of the website that you have on here. Because if you have like 20 different websites, it's best to put it in that format. That way you can, separate everything, nice and neat, instead of just a name like what I'm putting. But this is just fine for me, so I'm gonna just put this in there, music And then as well, I have another domain. It's called kitpro.us. So I'm gonna add that one here as well. So we just run the same command, and I'm gonna name that folder kitpro. That'll be the directory that we want to set it up for. And the next thing you want to do is actually change the permissions on that folder. And I won't go into all of these permissions. I think I did a video on setting permissions, but it's not hard to understand once you get it. But the command to change the permission is chmod -or, capital or, make sure it's capital or, and then 755. And this will basically give it read access, so people on the general web can actually access this directory. And then I'm gonna do it at the top level. That way it catches both of those folders. So if we go var www, and that's why I used the -or, because that's recursive. It'll go down in a directory tree. So to catch all the folders underneath it. So that music folder and that kit pro folder will get those permissions as well. So if we press enter here, that will give those folders those permissions. And we can check those permissions right fast just by typing ls-la, and this will show us those permissions. And as you can see, it has read and execute on both of those folders. And this is the default folder right here, which is generated when you actually install Apache. So that's already there, and it should have a file in there basically letting you know that Apache has been installed properly on the system. Okay, and just to save some time, I went on and generated some HTML code for each one of these sites. So at the end of this demonstration, when I'm showing you that it actually works, you can actually see something on the screen when you open up the website. So I'm going to go in and create an HTML file under each one of these directories. So let's go sudo nano var www, and let's create an index.html file in there and press enter. And let me go ahead and paste this in there right fast. Boom. So this is the HTML code that we'll test out once we finish setting up the virtual host. So let's do the exact same thing for the music directory and press enter. And then I have just some code on that one as well, that's tailored to these domains. So make sure they work. Boom. So now we got our HTML files located in the directories that we need. Now let's go down and set up the virtual host. And before I do that, let me check something right fast. I want to see what the permissions are on each one of those HTML files. So let's go to kitpro and look at it. Okay, so that's not going to be read by it. So let me run through and run the chmod again. That way it'll modify those index.html files that I put in there. And let's just check the kitpro one. It doesn't matter. I know the other one will work if this one, is set, because we did it at the top level or a higher level in the tree. So we good to go. And so let me clear this right fast. Now let's get in and create the virtual host. Okay, so in Apache, a part of the configuration files is they create a default config for the sites available. And this is the file that you actually need in order to create the virtual host. So if we go, and actually let's cd to this directory, that way you guys can see what's in it. So let's go cd etc Apache, and it's Apache 2, and then sites available. Boom. And then let me ls this directory so you guys can see what's in here. And what we want to see, or what we want to look at actually, is the 00-default.config. This is the file we want to use. I'm not sure why my system is freezing up like that, but so let's actually make a copy of this. And so we need to use sudo because it's under a directory owned by root. So let's go sudo copy, and then we can type 00.config, And what you want to name it is, and I like to do this just to make sure it goes in the proper place. I put period and then /. This basically lets the system know that you want to copy it within the directory that you're in. This is just a simpler way of me doing it. But // and then I want to name it something. I want to name it something specific to the website. And this is where I like to name it the full domain name. So I'm gonna do the music one first. So music.keepittechie.com.conf. So .config. So make sure you name it in that format and press enter. I'm not gonna make the config for the other one because I want to go in and modify this one first. So let's go sudo nano music.keepittechie.com.config. So we want to go in here, and this is actually the virtual host file. So just so you know, don't get confused with all these comments. They put all these comments in here just to help you learn how to set it up or whatever. And the server admin, I always leave that by default. I leave that default, but this is where we want to start typing. So the first thing you want to type in is the server name, and you need to type it in the right format. So just capitalize the S, capitalize the N, and then just put a space there between it. And you want to type the server name or the actual domain name. And this one is the music.keepittechie.com. And the next thing you want to do is put the server alias in. And really all this is doing is including the www. And actually let's just make it quick by copying what we got here and pasting down here and go to the front of it. Type www.music.keepittechie.com. Okay, cool. So here's the next step right here. You need to actually type in that folder that we had, and I remember we named mine music, so that's the directory for music.keepittechie.com, and that's pretty much all you have to do. Now for my instance, in order to get my domains to work, I have Cox Communications is for my service provider, and they block port 80, so I can't host websites on port 80. I have to use like a non-standard port, which I always use like 8080 in order to get to my websites from the outside if I need to. So you have to change, if you're going to use a non-standard port, you have to change that to that port number, as well as open up that port in your firewall if you have your firewall turned on, which hopefully you do. And I'll show you how to open up that firewall after we finish these configuration files. So that's pretty much it for this first config. So we're going to hit Control X and type Y to save it. And let's go down and copy that config file we just created, the music one. And we want to create our new one, which is kitpro.us.config, and press enter. And let's go down and modify this one. And the reason I wanted to modify this one because it has everything in there. It has the server name and the server alias in there. So all we have to do is change it out for the right domain name. So if we type sudo nano and then kitpro.us.config, and if we go down here, it has the right port. And all we got to do is change this up. So let's go kitpro.us. And let's go down and highlight this, and let's go down and highlight this and copy, and let's go down and drop this in there after the www, paste. And then now let's go down and change our directory, which this one was kitpro, and that's pretty much it. So we can hit Control X and then Y to save it, and we're good to go. Okay, so now that we created those configuration files and got them set up for our two domains, now we need to enable them because they're actually not enabled at this point. You have to physically enable them. You can create as many virtual hosts as you want under sites available, but the only way it'll start working is if you enable them. And the way to do that is it's a quick command, and it's sudo, and it's A2, and that stands for Apache 2 and ENSITE. So that's Apache 2 enable site, and then you want to specify the configuration. So let's start with the first one, which is music.keepitechie.com.config. Press enter on that one, and as you can see, it's enabled on that one. And the only way for the site to start working as well, you have to reload Apache in order for it to basically pick up those new configuration files that we enabled. So let's do the same thing for Kit Pro right fast. So let's enable that site as well. So Kit Pro, boom. And just to show you what happens, it basically copies the new configuration over to an enabled folder. So as you can see, we're in the sites available. So that's where you actually create the configuration file. So if we go up one directory, and I'm just showing you this so you guys will know. But if we ls this directory, the Apache 2 directory, I'm gonna do ls-la so you can see it. There's a config available, there's a config enabled, there's a mods available, there's a mods enabled, and there's a sites available and a sites enabled. None of this stuff will work none of these configuration files will work until they're moved to the enabled directory. And you can't just simply move it there. You have to run that command. And I'm not sure what the command is for the mods and the config. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I know A2 enable A2 en site will enable the configuration for each domain configuration or site configuration. So we're good to go there. And one thing they recommend you do when you set up virtual host or multiple domains on your Apache server is to disable the default configuration. And the command to do that is sudo A2 and it's di site, which basically disable site. And I apologize, it's dis. So disable site, basically is what it stands for. And then you want to go in and type that config, which is the domain config or the default configuration, and we can disable that site. Now that all that's done, we can go down and restart Apache. So the way you do that is simply sudo systemctl restart Apache 2 and press enter. That'll restart it. And let's go down and check the status right fast. As you see, it's still active and running. It's been restarted, so we good to go. So let's quit that, or actually press enter. It's fine. Now all that's done, you want to go down and open up the ports on your server, as well as create port forwarding on your router. Now I'm not going to show you that because everybody has different routers, so I can't just show you my router and how to actually do it on my router. It may not apply to anybody that watches the video, which I have a small crowd, so it doesn't make any sense to actually show me setting up port forwarding on my router because it may or may not apply to you. So I'm just going to show you how to open up the ports on the server, which is pretty simple to do. So let's cd, that way we can get out of this etc directory, and let's clear right fast. But the command to open up the ports is simply sudo ufw, and actually let's look at the status first. Just see, and it's not active, so let's go down and enable it. And press enter, and it may or may not kill my SSH connection, but whatever. And it looks as though it did. No, it didn't. I think I got port I think I have port 22 already open. So UFW status again. Ooh, and port 22 is not on there. So let's go sudo UFW allow SSH, and then let's look at the status again. I just want to make sure. And then also, let me go ahead on and allow port 8080, right? Fast, press enter. And let's look at the status one more time. And port 8080 is open now, so we should be good to go. Now, I already have the domains pointed to my IP address, my outside IP address. So the site should come up, and don't worry about trying to, I guess hack, because I'm gonna shut down this server as well as change my domains back to my main hosting server, which is out, with a hosting company. So you guys don't get my IP address. But okay, so that's pretty much it. Let's go on and try to test the sites right fast. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, cool. So I have my browser up. Let's go down and test these websites. So the first one was music.keepitechie.com, and as you can see, I already kind of tested it. But port 8080, you have to use port 8080 if you have to use a non-standard port. But if you have a service provider though that doesn't block port 80, then you just type in the domain name as usual. But since I can't do it, I have to use the 8080. But anyway, so if we press enter on it, that's that HTML file that we actually created on the server. So success. The music.keepitechie.com virtual host is working. And also, just to show you that the other one is working as well, is kitpro.us port 8080. So that virtual host is open, and that should give you a clear understanding of how virtual hosts work. You got multiple domains on one server being served out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna keep coming with the Linux content because my whole goal is to try to get more people into using open source software as well as the Linux operating system. So if you have any questions, leave comments down in the comment box below, and of course, keep it techie.